Hey, hey, hey. Let's talk some hockey. I'm going to give it a few minutes here and let some people join. And we'll get into Tuesday's slate and see what we can't figure out here. Just fix my microphone. It's kind of crooked. There it is. There it is. Pull up the chat here. Get ready. Yeah, it's not the greatest slate. There's only 8 games. Would have been 9, but one has been postponed due to COVID. And this is what we're left with. If you read the NHL betting market report at VSiN this morning or throughout the day, that's weird. Bitcoin Fight Club for Friday. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. You know what? Maybe I'll end this stream and start again. Not really. No, it's whatever. I put Tuesday. It must have reverted back. You know what? I had a VPN on, and right before I was about to go live, I switched everything from the last the last time I was on was Friday, so everything was set up for Friday's stream, and I changed the title and the intro to Tuesday 11:30, and I guess it reverted back. Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, it really doesn't matter. Oops on my part, but the point is that we're here and we're live. I'm gonna tweet out. Maybe I can get somebody to fix the title after the fact. But yeah, I think that was just a technical thing. Must have kind of switched back before I went live. Just gonna let everybody know that I'm live. All right. Well, the title's wrong. It's Tuesday. It's not Friday, but it doesn't matter. You're here, and we're gonna get into it right away. I guess we'll get started with San Jose, and we'll just no, you know what? What's up with VSiN NHL odds page? They've got the San Jose New Jersey game, which is rotation 47 and 48 first, but Washington and Florida. That's the first one as far as rotation number goes. So let's start with the Washington Capitals and the Florida Panthers. This line moved quite a bit. It opened, well, it didn't open, but it was up around Washington plus 125 this morning when I did the report. Now it's down to Washington plus 115, minus 135 coming back on the Panthers, the consensus line here. But you can get minus 125 if at most shops here. I think it's only a few that are at minus 135 right now. I don't like the Panthers here. They don't have Barkov. They don't have Duclair. That's 2/3 of their top line, or two really good top six forwards, arguably top line forwards, and those guys aren't in the lineup. Duclair, it seems like he'll be back sooner rather than later. Barkov, it sounds like he'll be back maybe this week, maybe early next week. But he's still listed as week to week, so not going to see those guys tonight. And the Capitals could get TJ Oshie back. The last I've heard, I kind of stopped paying attention, to be honest, as far as, typically I'd follow, like on a day like today, I would follow all of the Washington Capitals beat reporters and anybody else that covers the team, and I'd put on notifications so that if they did tweet anything out, I would get notified, right away. But I didn't do that because, like I said, the line moved, and even if Oshie is back, which I guess the market is assuming that he is, I don't think there's any value here. Minus 125 against the Capitals team that is, still pretty good, despite the fact that they've been missing, several top six forwards. We've got, Nicholas Backstrom hasn't played a game yet. Anthony Mantha's he's out for at least another few weeks, or if not more than that. I think the initial estimate for his return was 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe I'm a little off there. Cool. What's up? FanDuel having some player props and some better numbers on your releases. Well, that's cool. I mean, shop around. That's it's imperative that every single sports bettor shops around. I don't know if there's this kind of tribe mentality here in the regulated market where it's like, oh, you've got to pick a brand and stick with it. Maybe it's like Yellowstone where they're gonna brand their logo into your chest. But look, there's a lot of options out there, probably more than ever. So definitely shop around. Don't just go to the first book or the book that I tell you to go to and hit confirm. Look around for the best odds. I mean, if you're betting player props, it can vary a lot. You might find minus 120 at one book and plus 120 at the other. So it's it can really really make a big difference. Manny, what's up? Thanks for joining. Just getting started here. We just talked about Washington and Florida a little bit, and I talked about how I don't really see a whole lot of value here. I don't see any value if I'm being honest. I mean, I've got the Panthers lined around minus 125 if Oshie's back, or about minus 120. Sorry. Sergei Bobrovsky in goal tonight. Ilya Samsonov in goal for the Capitals. Washington, these two teams have met twice already. Washington lost the first game in a shootout. That was a while back, but just more recently here, they actually took a win from the Panthers by a score of 4-3. So they've been close games. The Capitals, I mean, they don't get put in that same class with a lot of these teams, like the Panthers and the Lightning and whatnot. The Avalanche, they're kind of in that next tier, I guess. But if you're watching the games all the time and whatnot, you'll see that this Washington team really they up their game for these big opponents, and it's not like they're. It's almost like they bring a bit of a different game when they're playing an elite opponent like the Florida Panthers or otherwise. But yeah, no, not a whole lot of value there. I didn't find any player props that I liked in that game. Jack Hughes coming back for the Devils. How do you feel about Ovi over 0.5 PP points? You know what? Well, so I don't actually handicap power play points. That's something that hopefully I can get into in the future here. Right now I have points, assists, goals, and shots. That's what I've got generating every single day. Power play points should be something easy. Well, don't bet anything that you like, Matt, because it'll probably be a loser. So if you're looking for a winner, man, I don't know. Hopefully you come to the right place, but if you bet it, that means it could be mushed too, right? So let's talk a little bit of San Jose and New Jersey. I am. This game does interest me a little bit. I'm wondering, so like let's just take Circa Sports for example, which is pretty close to like a Pinnacle, right? Like in terms of their pricing, they deal 10-cent hockey lines, which should be the standard across the industry, but it's not. You'll probably see 20-cent lines more often than not. Meaning meaning they'll line a game minus 110 on each side instead of minus 105. But you can get plus 130 on the Sharks right now, and I'm borderline there. Jack Hughes is back, so that definitely changes things for the Devils. He's a big time player, and he should move the needle a little bit here tonight. But the Sharks, they haven't been playing great since getting all their players back from. They lost about a third of their roster to COVID earlier this year, a few weeks ago. But they're a solid team. They're a mediocre team, but I think they're pretty comparable to what they bring. They're very comparable to the Devils in a lot of ways. I do like New Jersey's young skill. I do think they're a fast team, but San Jose can get you down with a pretty ferocious forecheck. And we got James Reimer in goal. He's been pretty good this year. He's it's not something that I would bet on all season long, but he's been rolling to start. So I'm gonna see where this line goes here. Like I said, we're seeing almost plus 130 at some spots. Can it get to plus 135? At that point, I'd probably jump in on the Sharks for a small wager here. But right now, I don't have any game line bets. I've just got a few player prop bets. And one of them is in this game with between the Boston Bruins and the Detroit Red Wings. Obviously, Brad Marchand is out. He was suspended for 3 games for a slew foot on Oliver Ekman-Larsson when the Bruins hosted the Canucks just a few nights ago. A little much, I think. I'm a little biased because I am a Bruins fan. Marchand is definitely a dirty player. That's, I mean, he has that in him. I'm not going to deny that. But we've seen, quite a few of these slew footing incidents this year. Not even forget about last year. But we've seen, at least a half a dozen of these cases here this year. PK Subban, he was. He got off with a slap on the wrist compared to what Marchand received, and forfeiting about $100,000 in salary over the course of 3 games. So it's a little peculiar, but I guess they're trying to send a message, and it's probably a good one to send because there's no place in the game for slewfoots. But I do like Taylor Hall over 2.5 shots on goal here. The propagator, Range Hockey's amazing application prices Taylor Hall's chances of hitting 3 shots, at least 3 shots, at around minus 120. He's getting bumped up from line 2 to line 1 in place of Marchand. He's going to be on that top power play unit as well. This is a guy, he's been hitting this mark quite a bit as of late, and you can bet him. I believe it was plus 105 at DraftKings the last time I looked. But you can you might be able to get better than that out there. It was plus 110 earlier this morning. Hall has gone over or had 3 or more shots in 7 of his last 10 games. So this bump in ice time and bump in terms of the quality of his line mates should bode well for his chances tonight. It's a plus money bet that should win more often than not. So that's my favorite prop bet of the night. Taylor Hall over 2.5 shots on goal, plus let's say plus 105 because I think that's what it's at right now. Plus 112 on FanDuel earlier. Okay, great. I mean, that's a good bet, and I'm sure it's not plus 112 anymore, but it might be. So go check it out. Go look around. It's definitely worth it to shop around for some advantageous lines. But overall, Boston, I mean, they worry me a little bit here. When Bergeron and Marchand, and he's not in the game, but when the top line isn't scoring, this team is struggling. They might be the best. They might be the best team in the NHL structure wise. At 5-on-5, for sure, they are right up there. I believe they have the best expected goals for percentage, according to EvolvingHockey.com. In the NHL when it comes to 5-on-5 play. I think they dropped to about 4th if you take in the power play and the penalty kill into account. But that's still very, very good. However, their goals for percentage when it comes to what's actually happening, they're just a little bit above break even, around 51%. Detroit is about a 48% team. So they're a mediocre team, but the Bruins are missing a big piece. I can't quite get there on the Red Wings. I mean, plus 180 now. It was a bit higher earlier. They opened around plus 205. Obviously, that's moved a bit. I definitely wouldn't be laying the minus 210 on Boston or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I know I think I love the Taylor Hall shot prop, and that's probably the only action that I'm going to end up with on this Boston game here. The other one I think that is quite interesting here is Arizona and Minnesota. So we'll just skip over a couple here really quick and get to the Wild and the Coyotes. If you followed along with the NHL, the goings-on in the NHL last night, you would have saw that the Winnipeg Jets outshot the Arizona Coyotes 46-15 and lost the game 1-0. It was hockey encapsulated, just a silly random sport. Often it doesn't make sense. And this Wild team is very comparable to the Jets in terms of their overall strength. So, it makes sense why the line is where it is. I think it's a little bit higher than it should be, given that Capo Kakinen is now the starting goaltender for the Wild, not Cam Talbot. I don't think it's as big of a downgrade as some people do, because I don't think Talbot's been very good in the last couple of years, to be honest. But it's an interesting game. I think the Wild are obviously they're going to control play here. They're going to dictate the pace of the game. Arizona allows the third most unblocked shot attempts in the NHL. So, the Wild they don't generate a ton of shots, but they're going to have their way with the Coyotes, or at least they should tonight. So I like Kevin Fiala over 3.5 shots at plus 130. The propagator prices this one closer to even money, so definitely some value here, and it's obviously a big number, 3.5 shots. To get 4 shots, it's tough. But Fiala is a guy that's been doing that a lot lately. He has seen a drop in ice time. He has seen a drop in ice time. He's down on the third line, but he still gets first unit power play minutes. And I believe just like Hall, he's a guy that's gone over about 7 times in his last 10 games. He's had at least 4 shots. So I think it's a 50-50 bet that's priced at around plus 125 or plus 130 now, and it's a good one. And on the other side of things, if you look, if you were to go off of the betting line and the game total to kind of come up with a predicted score, well, you're going to come up with the Arizona Coyotes scoring 2 goals or less on average, just like they would have went into last night's game against Winnipeg. And because of that, there's not a lot of scoring to go around, or at least there shouldn't be in theory. And Clayton Keller and Phil Kessel are 2 players that I have been targeting lately. Lawson Krause and Jacob Chikrin are other players that I've targeted. Betting against them not to score, or betting on them not to score points. But the Chikrin and the Krause props are quite chalky here for this one, and they have been fairly often. So Clayton Keller at minus 115 and Phil Kessel at minus 120, under 0.5 points. I like both of those bets. The propagator price is the under on both plays at around minus 175. So you're looking at about 40 to 50 cents of value here. And Minnesota is a good team defensively. They should limit the opportunities that the Coyotes get, and the opportunities that Arizona does manage to come up with. They probably won't be very high quality ones, because that's kind of the Wild's MO. Is there a reason that I don't bet many totals? I'm not very good at them. That's the first reason is I've got a fairly big sample of total bets that I've made over the years, and not really happy with the results or the closing line value. I have obtained positive expected value. I've obtained closing line value on the total plays that I've made, and that's a lot of it. A lot of that has to do though with the fact that a lot of the time my total plays are driven by news. If there's a situation where I know earlier, I think there was a situation earlier in the season where I believe it was everybody and their dog thought that the goaltenders were going to be the 2 starters, but it ended up being the 2 backups, and there was a big downgrade. So I jump on that and I get some closing line value, but I don't think that's a great indicator. I just haven't done very good at totals. I don't mind saying I've really beat up money lines over the past few years and past several years, and that's just where I see the most value. And there are total bets that I like. I'm just not as confident in my my process for handicapping totals, so I tend to stay away from them. It's there's no reason not to be honest. It's I'm not good at betting totals. In theory I think I should have done better, but it's just not it's something that I'm still working on, but it's a learning process. This handicapping thing, you never stop learning, and I've done so good on sides that I just didn't want to focus any time on totals, and this is what I'm left with. I'm kind of a half-ass hockey handicapper, I guess, but no, that's all right. Yotes under 1.5 is about plus 125. That was the only value I liked. Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing that worries me here is the fact that Kakkonen is much more likely to have a dumpster fire of a game than Talbot is, or at least seems like it. Now, I had to do an NHL Network segment yesterday, Albert, and I don't know, I was talking about the Kings, so I put the Kings jersey in the background, right? What a great jersey. They had to screw it up by making it all shiny. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I like Keller under 0.5 points minus 115, Kessel under 0.5 points minus 120, and I like Kevin Fiala over 3.5 shots plus 130. Yeah, I don't trust him either, Manny. But then again, I don't trust many goaltenders because just when you think you've got them figured out, you don't. So it's a constant. I've really kind of pulled back the reins, and I used to be a little bit more confident in my assessment of goaltenders. Now I kind of like lean into the fact that I'm not very confident, and I think that other hockey bettors out in the market are way too confident in their assessment of goaltenders. You see some really big downgrades where a guy is like 40 cents. I don't think there's a goaltender. I honestly don't think there's really a goaltender. There might be one or two. I don't think there's a goaltender tandem in the league that is worth that much to go from one to the other. I really don't. Even the Hellebuck to Comrie, I think some of the shifts when you see the odds shift the way they do, that you can't use this against me, Matt. If you're just gonna troll, I'm gonna ban you. I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna figure it out. No, how can I book my? How can you book my action? Well, you couldn't afford my action, so I don't know. Have at her. Yeah, Mr. Kluche, this slate does feel tough. I didn't end up with anything. It's a little bit boring, but it's one of those things where I'm still open to making some bets here, but there just hasn't been enough movement and nothing has shaked out in terms of news. Like, we still don't. Dude, I'm fine. Really. If you think I'm an idiot and you think you can win all kinds of money fading me, we'll just go fade my picks then. Go ahead. Be my guest, right? Like, go for it. I'm not going to pay any more attention to you. Anyway, it's a tough slate, but like there hasn't been a confirmation yet in Nashville. You would think that Saros is going to get the start here, but if something happens and he doesn't, you'd probably have to jump on the Blue Jackets here. And Tampa Bay and the St. Louis Blues is another game that it saw some sharp action, I guess you could say, because of the move to Brian Elliott. I'm not, dude. I've got about a 60 bet sample in the public eye. I've spent the better part of the last decade betting in, not in the public eye. I don't, there's nothing like. I mean, if I lose this season, if I have a losing season, it is what it is. It would be my first losing season since I started doing this, and if I have the bad luck of losing in front of everybody, well, I guess that's the chance you take. But there's a reason that VSiN hired me, despite the fact that I don't have any publicity kind of behind me. There's enough people in this space that know what I've been doing these last number of years, and it is what it is. I spent way too much time talking. We're here to talk about the slate, though. I mean, if you wanna like, I hope there's been some people that have tailed my plays in a short sample and have gone absolutely broke because they're way too overconfident. And I hope that you're way too overconfident in your ability to fade me. Go ahead, see what happens. I mean, it is what it is, right? I'm down about 5 units on the season. Like, big whoop. Okay, it's not a big deal. It is what it is. Like, I'm still doing it day to day, and that's it. And nobody around me, in my circle has lost faith in what I'm doing. So, I think if you're fading me, you're probably getting negative closing line value. So, I'm up 2 units with in one particular subset of plays. So it is what it is, right? It's small sample size. Let's see. Come talk to me at the end of the season, and if I've given out 500 picks and I still suck, well, I guess you'll maybe have a little bit of a case to make then. But until then, just go away. But yeah, the Blues, I mean, they're going with Brian. The Lightning are going with Brian Elliott. It's obviously a big downgrade. The problem is that I had the Lightning as a small favorite, I guess, around minus 112. So it's a pretty big shift to get up to see any value on the Tampa or the St. Louis Blues, sorry. And at minus 130 now, I mean, I'm pretty much in that midpoint price, midpoint around minus 125 in favor of the Blues. So I don't think there's a lot of interest here. Hartman, you love Hartman, eh? Yeah, this is the worst Tuesday I think of the year so far, and it's all because of Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving. It really screwed everything up. Last week schedule was kind of trash. So far this week it's been kind of trash. But yeah, you've got Ryan Hartman on the first line, centering that first line. He's not on the top power play, but he is on the second power play on the wing. So I mean, I'll check out what do we got here. I can check what maybe I just overlooked that one really quick. Dun, dun, dun. All right, well, nobody Bruins lines are interesting. Are you talking about their actual the lines, like the line combination? Sorry. I'm interested to see the Taylor Hall experiment. I'm not a fan of that second line. Nick Foligno, Charlie Coyle, and Craig Smith. I don't know. Like, Foligno has not. They could have done without him. But yeah, okay, Matt. Let's talk some futures. You want to talk futures? I think a lot of value has been kind of sucked out of the market here a little bit. These last few weeks, you can still get the Penguins at 30-1. I don't think that's a terrible bet. Rangers minus 200. What's that for? To make the playoffs? Is that to make the playoffs, Matt? No, they're minus 400 they're minus 400 to make the playoffs. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's the Stanley Cup. Oh, yeah, that's your price. Yeah. You know what? Like, I mean, I actually only have 2 Stanley Cup bets right now. The Calgary Flames at 50-1 and the Pittsburgh Penguins at, I appreciate you, Mr. Schaffner, 101. Man, I'm just here to have fun, guys. It's any props you like in Carolina, Dallas. Yeah, it's a tough situation with Carolina, with the Carolina situation here with Tony DeAngelo and Brett Pesce out, and that is one of the rare times this season where I totally missed news, and I totally looked over that. I don't know if I just didn't get notified of that yesterday, Be nice if I had some help, some reliable help. The only I have some people around, but they're kind of spotty and don't really they don't really they don't really live up to the expectations that I have for them. Vegas 12-1. Yeah, I mean it's is it bottomed out? Probably. Like they're gonna be at pretty much full strength anytime in the near future. So is it gonna get any better than that? No. Is there any value in that? Look, I think this team is kind of broken in a lot of ways when it comes to the playoffs. I know they got Jack Eichel and everything, and that should change the dynamic a little bit. They're going to have to force their offense to go that way a little bit. But these last few years in the playoffs, it's so much of their offense has gone through their defense that I'm not sold on the Golden Knights being a legitimate like they're going to be in the mix, don't get me wrong, but I just think when push comes to shove, I'm not sure that they are going to match up very well against a Carolina or some Western Conference teams like a Colorado or even an Anaheim or somebody like that could end up giving them trouble if John Gibson is when and how does Vegas sign Evander Kane? I think he's probably going to Montreal. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. Like I think there's probably a team out there that's going to give Evander Kane a chance. I mean, he led the Sharks in points last season. If you can just get him to shut up and play hockey for a few months, it might be not a bad idea as a rental for a run at the playoffs. But it's you have Lucas Raymond Calder at 1150. Wow, that's I've got no, I'm not gonna argue with you over what I think or what you guys think of Evander Kane. He's a good hockey player though at the end of the day. But I think the Lucas Raymond bet is great. When I went right around when he kind of took off, I was a little bit perplexed that Sider had bigger odds because they were tied in points at the time, and but yeah, Raymond has been he's been a really, I shouldn't say a surprise. I mean, he was definitely on my radar heading into the season, but he's really looking like the Calder Trophy winner at this point. I mean, he's been such a big piece of this Red Wings team, yeah, I don't know. I've got Zegras at 16-1 before the season, from prior to the season, and I had Quentin Byfield at 16-1, but he broke his ankle before the season even started, so that one was dead right away. Do I think the Bees can turn this around a bit, or just fringe playoff team? Like, I mean, I don't like. They're probably just a fringe playoff team in that division. You've got the Panthers, the Lightning, the Maple Leafs that are all looking pretty dominant right now. The Panthers are going to look a lot better when they get Barkov and Duclair back. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me why they would have spent so much on goaltending when they have such a need for secondary scoring. And especially after they had to. I guess I shouldn't say to let go David Krejci, but after Krejci left, that really, took a big hit on their secondary scoring and their ability to drive play on that second line. So I think they're better than a fringe playoff team. I just think it's going to be tough for them to jump any of those teams that are in front of them right now. And, as good as they are, it seems like they're going to be one of those teams that kind of just not break even, but just do a little bit better than break even. I think there's I kind of always thought that Tuukka Rask would end up back with the Boston Bruins this season. There was just too many signs kind of pointing to that happening, but I'm just not sure how they're gonna. I'm not a capologist, but I'm not quite sure how they're gonna make it all work. I do think they've got to get Rask back if they can, though. I don't think Linus Ullmark is if he's going to be on the bench during a playoff run, then what's the point? And I'm not sure you can send Jeremy Swayman to the AHL at this point, but we'll see. I guess we'll know in about a month or two, because it sounds like Rask is going to be ready to come back in January or early February. I'm not sure, but we'll have to monitor that for sure. I don't the Carolina game and the Carolina and Dallas game. I'm not very confident in my handicap. Yeah, I don't see any value on laying the 1.5 goals with Boston. No, Scott. I think it's probably going to be a lot closer of a game than you'd be comfortable with for that kind of bet. I'm interested. I was interested in this Carolina Dallas game. I'm not super confident in my handicap though. The Stars were awful for the first 15 games of the season. More often than not, they looked really bad, and I know they were missing Jason Robertson for about the first 6 or 7 games. John Klingberg missed 4 or 5 games, so those are big losses. Yeah, I don't hate that under 5.5 minus 125 in Carolina and Dallas, but it is minus 115 right now, so there is that. But Dallas has been, if you read the report today, I showed their last 7 games through the lens of expected goals, and it's interesting. The Stars have been really kind of dominating opponents in that respect. I mean, I watched a couple of their games in the last week or so. I especially remember the game against Edmonton and the game against Colorado, and they did a great job of shutting Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl down. They had a game plan. They executed it. Miro Heiskanen was all over McDavid. Nobody would let Draisaitl get any room to take that shot that he loves to take from the circle. It was just a really quality defensive performance from the Stars, and then they did a lot of the same stuff to the Colorado Avalanche. So, I think they'll probably have a good chance at having some success tonight, and I think if I was going to base my handicap just off the last week and a half, I'd probably make Dallas quite a bigger favorite here, but because I do put quite a bit of stock into the overall sample of games here. I've just got the Stars around minus 115 and a little short of that actually, so it's not quite enough to make any kind of value play there. And as far as the Ducks and the Kings go, I'm actually excited to watch this game. It's the first meeting of the season between these two teams. They're very exciting teams. They've got a lot of talent. They've got both have quality goaltenders. But if last time I looked, there was no confirmation that John Gibson was starting, and there still isn't. It looks like Jonathan Quick is likely going to start for the Kings, and he's had a decent season. I mean, he looks good so far, and I know they probably paid a little bit of that back in the last handful of games, but if it's Anthony Stolarz, you've got Drew Doughty. It sounds like he's coming back tonight, and if it's Anthony Stolarz, it's kind of Kings or nothing, but I do lean towards the under here. Yeah, it's but it has a lot to do with whether or not it's going to be John Gibson or not. Stolarz was great against Ottawa, and he's been pretty solid for the last few years, really. But it's a very small sample size, so I'm not super confident in my assessment of his play thus far. But yeah, I think really like heading into tonight, I'm going to keep an eye out and see if Saros ends up getting the night off. I don't know why he would. It doesn't make much sense to sit him here. David Rittich I believe he did get the last game. It seems likely that Saros will start. But if he doesn't, plus 135 against the Predators team that I'm not super high on, wouldn't be a bad idea. Yeah, Rittich started on the 27th, so it's almost like it's almost certainly going to be Saros. Nedeljkovic for the Detroit Red Wings. Yeah, that pushes things in favor of the Red Wings a little bit. I was uncertain whether or not they would go with Ned here today. It seemed like the logical choice because he is the better goaltender of the two. But they do have the Kraken tomorrow, and man, Seattle's been playing some good hockey lately. I'm glad I stopped making fun of them when I did, because they've been kind of hot this last week or so, and it was kind of expected. I mean, if there was one team that you would expect to kind of turn it around, it had to be the Kraken, because they were so bad, and it wasn't really kind of any fault of their own. The goaltending was just beyond awful, and that's what you're left with. And it can be pretty demoralizing to a team. I think you see that when you're playing good and your goaltender just lets in a muffin and then lets in another muffin. It's tough to overcome that sometimes, and I think that's what we saw with the Kraken early in this season. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, guys, it's really not a good slate. I I wish I had more. I wish I had more. Um, I wish I had more. Incentive to play something here, but I really don't. And we've got a bit of a busier slate tomorrow, I believe. I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I don't know how many games we've got. I think we got at least 6 games tomorrow. And that's the thing, yeah. Like Kluche, he said discipline is key, and it really is. Like if I was to pick one reason why I think I've been successful betting on hockey, and this is not me trying to brag. I've found success, and I think one of the driving factors is that I don't mind taking a day off. I don't care if there's 10 games. If I don't like anything, if I feel like I have to reach for something, if it's not, I let the value come to me, right, and then I let the rest take care of itself. And sometimes it's just that's how it works out, and I don't mind that, man. It's a long season. It's we're only a quarter of the way through the season, and there's going to be days where I just don't see things. I don't see any value in things, and sometimes it feels like you want to force something. You want to say like, oh, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe I'll jump on somebody else's opinion just so I can have some action and hopefully find some success and a profit. But I'm just not like that, and I think that's the I'll bet some player props for action, and it's I think those player props are plus EV, but the limits are very small, so you're not getting a ton down. Yeah, I mean it's there are times when I regret when I'm like when it's like maybe I'm missing something here, maybe my handicap's a little off. Maybe there is some value here, and if you see a bunch of other statistical models that are leaning towards a certain team, and it might make you feel like, oh, maybe they're onto something that I haven't picked up on, and sometimes it works out where that team that you were close to betting on, or maybe considered kind of reaching out a little bit, and they end up destroying their opponents, and you regret it, but. I really don't find myself regretting too many nights that I decide to take off. I'm still gonna watch some games tonight. I'm gonna prepare for tomorrow. That's usually what I like to do. If I've got a night where I don't have to sweat anything, I can relax and prepare for the next day, and hopefully kind of be on top of a little bit more on top of things going forward. But tonight I've got 4 player props. We'll just recap those really quick. I really appreciate all you guys tuning in. It's super fun to chat with you. The worst thing is when you do one of these and there's nobody here interacting. It's not that fun. It'd be different if I had somebody else to talk to, like a guest or something, for sure. But when I do these solo, what sites do I use to research the starting goaltenders? Well, I've got lists on Twitter. I've subscribed to some lists over the years, and I use websites like Daily Faceoff as well. If it's something that I'm really interested in, if there's let's say there's a bet that I want to make, but I have to know who's going to start in goal before I make it. Well, like I said earlier in the stream, I'll search out all of the beat writers from that team. Like, let's say it's the Washington Capitals. I'll go out and I'll find all of the 7 or 8 Washington Capitals beat writers. I'll follow the Washington Capitals team account, and then I'll set notifications on. And if those guys tweet anything throughout the day, well, I'll get notified of it. And that's pretty much the quickest way to find out in a lot of instances. Daily Faceoff they are decent. it's a daunting task to stay on top of rosters and goaltenders. And the thing that you have to remember, although I do think they've gotten into the sports betting stuff a little bit here, the thing you have to remember about some of these websites like Daily Faceoff that log starting goaltenders is that it's somewhat like it's I think it's somewhat automated because there are quite a few instances throughout the season where you'll see the only indication that a team is going to start a particular goaltender. Like there was a situation a few weeks ago with the LA Kings. Some Los Angeles Kings writer, just a nobody, they didn't, they just posted a projected lineup on, I think it was LA Kings Insider. But there was no mention of, hey, we saw this at practice, or, the coach said this or anything. It was just this reporter speculating on, what he thought the lineup was going to look like. And it ended up actually being the other goaltender because it wasn't a confirmation, but Daily Faceoff picked up on that report, and they saw that this guy had projected that, the other goaltender was going to start, and they confirmed that as a starting goaltender. So it's the best to, you can actually click on the source on dailyfaceoff.com, and then you can see where that confirmation came from. So it's, if there's time to do that sort of thing, then you should do it, because I feel a lot of people, and this isn't a shot at anybody like DFO, but I do feel like a lot of the reporters out there care more about being first than they do about being right, and kind of checking all the boxes before they tweet out something like, hey, this goaltender's going to start in goal, or this player is back. You'll often see like, this injured player has returned to the lineup or returned to practice and is wearing a regular sweater, or this goaltender is in the starter's crease. I think if you actually, like, with this whole starter's crease, the goalie is in the starter's crease, that is taken as a confirmation way too often. I would say, it's only the starter about 70 to 80% of the time, maybe a little bit more than that, but it's not as much of an indicator as it used to be. So there's a lot of nuances in this stuff, and it's just it's tough to give you like straightforward advice. Just watch. Just be like, you'll notice if you're watching this stuff throughout the day and throughout the week, you'll notice lots of these things, that there's a lot of people jumping the gun on certain things, and there's value in being patient and checking your sources and things like that. So, we can get into this next Tuesday, or if I can find time to do another stream this week. But I'll just recap my bets really quick. Phil Kessel under 0.5 points minus 120. Clayton Keller under 0.5 points minus 115. Those are both Arizona Coyotes, and then we've got. What's the other one? Kevin Fiala over 3.5 shots plus 130. He's on the Minnesota Wild. They're playing the Coyotes, so all those props are in the same game. A lot of action there. And then the final one, which is my favorite, Taylor Hall over 2.5 shots on goal. Was plus 110 earlier. I think it's plus 105 now. Anything at plus money on that prop is something I like. I think it should be priced around minus 120 according to the propagator. Ideally, Matt, you would have somebody else do all of your work for you if you could, but you can't really rely on people, especially people like you. But you were all right for a bit. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Good luck tonight. Check out the market report tomorrow, and enjoy the hockey.